CKLA 5th grade, Domain 2, Reader, Chapter 3, Hidden Secrets in the Rainforest. Our big question is, what factors led to the development and decline of the ancient Maya civilization? Do you like to solve puzzles and break codes? A boy named David Stewart did. The son of archaeologists, David often accompanied his parents to the ancient Maya ruins where they worked. There he saw the sights that he had never seen before. He was particularly fascinated by the sculpted stone monuments called stele. Often located in the central plazas of Maya cities, these giant pillars featured carvings of images and symbols. David began sketching the carvings when he was only 8 years old. One symbol looked like the head of a jaguar, another resembled an open book. What did these glyphs or combination of symbols mean? There's a lot of really cool symbols there. Decoding an ancient language. David soon learned that archaeologists were often puzzled by these carved symbols. Many of the carvings had survived despite thousands of years of erosion by humidity, heat, and tropical storms. Still, nobody knew what these sequences of symbols meant. Some scholars suspected the symbols were largely decorative. Others were convinced the symbols were a form of writing. Among these scholars was a young Russian named Yuri Knursov, who began to decode or translate hieroglyphs. His translations uncovered the true nature of the Maya writing system. Some glyphs were symbols or parts of words, while others represented whole words. They were far from just being pretty pictures. Knursov published the results of his research in 1952. Some epigraphers, people who decode and interpret ancient writing systems, were doubtful of his work. Others, including David Stewart, were eager to decode more. Today, approximately 85% of the Maya glyphs have been decoded. These glyphs help bring the ancient Maya world to life. They provide records of important dates and events, including the reigns of kings and the movement of the stars. The Maya developed a system of writing that used around 800 distinct glyphs. Scribes patiently painted symbols onto the folded bark paper of a codex. They created many of these ancient books, or codices. Many codices were destroyed or have disappeared. Hieroglyphs carved in stone, however, continue to tell stories from ancient Maya cities even today. Buried treasure in the Temple of Inscriptions. Palenque, in present-day Mexico, contains one of the longest carved hieroglyphic texts yet found. Elements of Palenque's history are carved on panels that form the walls of his Temple of Inscriptions. Excuse me. This temple was built to honor one of the Palenque's kings, King Pekal. Kanich'Janal Pekal rose to power when he was only 12 years old. He ruled Palenque for nearly 70 years. Pekal, like other Maya rulers, spent many years planning his own burial tomb. The tomb inside Palenque's famous Temple of Inscriptions lay hidden for many years. In 1948, a Mexican archaeologist named Alberto Ruiz Lahire discovered a trap door that led to the tomb. It took 4 years for Alberto Ruiz Lahire and his team to carefully clear rubble from the opening beneath the trapdoor. There, they discovered a stairway leading down to the king's sarcophagus, or coffin. When archaeologists opened the coffin's ornate lid, they found what was presumed to be Pekal's skeletal remains. He was buried with an abundance of jade, the Maya's most precious stone. Jade necklaces, earrings, rings, and bracelets filled the coffin. The most magnificent of all the pieces of the mosaic death mask was the most magnificent of all pieces was the mosaic death mask. It was common practice in Maya culture to place masks over the rulers' faces to protect them in the afterlife. Pascal's mask is spectacular, made from hundreds of pieces of green jade. The mask features decorative pieces of shell and dark obsidian, from numbers to calendars in the great beyond. We know that the Maya had a written language. They also developed a number system. They used 3 symbols, a dot, a line, and a picture. The dot represented 1. The bar stood for 5. The pictorial symbol, often an oval shell, stood for 0. The Maya were among the first people to use the concept of 0. Without it, they could not have made calculations into millions as they did. Their system of counting was used by people from different classes of society. Traders used this early form of mathematics for business. Architects used it for building pyramids. Farmers used it to plant their fields. Astronomers used mathematics to plot the heavens. So you can see an example of 0 to 19, symbols for 0, 1, 5, to form larger numbers. Symbols carved on a stele. Sculptured stele stood in Maya ceremonial centers for hundreds of years. Over time, the stones had various uses and styles changed. Archaeologists have determined the main purpose of the stele was to glorify kings. These stone monuments boldly portray the king's wealth and important deeds. Combinations of glyphs also recorded important events. The Maya used complicated systems for recording dates using the symbols for numbers. The position of the numbers on the stele determined how it was interpreted. The Maya symbol for numbers appeared on many stele. Priests served as astronomers and charted the skies. Ceremonial centers housed observatory buildings where astronomers would watch the stars' movements over the course of the year. The Maya thought of time as moving in cycles rather than a straight line. Cycles in nature were important to Maya's understanding of time. They accurately predicted solar eclipses. They mapped out the orbital cycle of the planet Venus. They studied the phases of the moon. Based on their observations and their knowledge of mathematics, the Maya used 2 calendars. The solar, or sun calendar, contained 365.2420 days in a year, compared to the modern day calculations of 365.2422 days in a calendar year. Can you tell how far off the mark they were? Scientists agree that centuries-old Maya calculations were remarkably precise or accurate. Their lunar or moon calendar contained 260 days. The Maya consulted it for favorable days to plant and harvest. It was also the key to deciding the best dates for ceremonies and celebrations. Early engineers and doctors. The Mayas' many pyramids are proof of their advanced mathematical and engineering skills. Imagine building such structures without the use of wheels, pulleys, or metal tools. The Maya constructed 4-sided platforms from earth and rubble to form the base of a pyramid. Then they covered the rubble with limestone from local quarries. The plentiful limestone was ground into fine powder, mixed with gravel and water. The Maya used this mixture for both mortar and stucco finishing. The Maya had no pack animals, so they carried materials on their backs. Without the use of metal tools, they cut stone with stone. Priests had many different roles in Maya society. In addition to conducting religious ceremonies and practicing astronomy, priests served as doctors. Maya medicine was a combination of science and religion. The Maya used natural remedies or treatments. They gathered plants to relieve headaches and settle upset stomachs. They combined herbal concoctions with various animal parts to cure ailments. When wounds required stitching, priests used sharp objects of obsidian and volcanic stone and strands of human hair. Priests even served as dentists, filling teeth with minerals from the earth. The end of the Golden Age. The Golden Age of the Maya came to an end around 800 to 900 CE, or AD. City-states were mostly abandoned. No more stone statues were raised to kings. Populations decreased and farmers dispersed. People of the inland rainforests left for the drier Yucatan Peninsula. One of the most pre-Columbian civilizations in America crumbled. Why? The change was gradual and probably resulted from the combination of things. It is possible that a lack of rainfall led to serious drought conditions. The Maya chopped down trees for additional fields and housing. This could have destroyed the ecological balance of the region. An epidemic or changing trade routes may have been partially responsible for the decline. Or some theorize the reason may rest with the Maya themselves. Was there a war between city-states? Did people revolt? Had the rulers become too controlling? Nobody knows for sure. Maya blue, a long-lasting color. The Maya were skilled artisans. They gathered clay to create beautiful ceramic vessels. Like the stone stele, these decorative vases often told stories and their elaborately painted surfaces. Artists made a distinctive blue paint known as Maya blue. It comes from a beautiful indigo dye produced from the leaves of a native plant. Many other colors made with natural pigments fade over time. Maya blue is remarkable for the fact that it fades very little. Maya cloth of today. Many modern Maya women wear colored tunics that are similar to the ones worn by their ancestors. Each community has its own distinct designs. As they did long ago, many women today still weave cloth. Some even use thread that is colored with natural dyes. Traditional tunics are sold in modern-day marketplaces. At the close of the Golden Age, the remaining Maya scattered and their great civilization dwindled. Today, their descendants live in the ancestral homelands of modern-day Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. With the exception of Belize, where English is spoken, Spanish is the official language of the region. However, more than 21 Maya dialects are still spoken in Guatemala alone. If you visit Mesoamerica, your guide through the muggy rainforest to ancient ruins may be a descendant of the Maya. The ancient Maya were once thought to be peaceful worshippers of the stars, gods, and time. However, their decorated vassals and translated glyphs provide clues to suggest otherwise. We are still learning about these people who populated South Central America and parts of Central America. That's it for Chapter 3. Thank you for joining me. This is Mr. Bowlby.